Hi, my name is Bill Frey. I'm here to talk about Hellertown's participation in World War II. During World War II, Hellertown, of course, was well represented in the military by many brave men and women. But I'm here to talk about just a small group of men, 28 of which served in the same unit, the 17th Airborne, during World War II. These boys went off to war. Most of them were 18 to 20-year-olds, just fresh out of high school. Christmas Eve of 1944, under the command of General Patton, they headed north in France to try and save the 101st Airborne Unit, which was surrounded by the Germans. This battle became known as the Battle of the Bulge. They were fighting in one of the most severe winters of the time. All these men, 28 boys, were in this group from Hellertown. The men had summertime clothing on, and they were fighting basically Panzer tanks with M1 rifles. Well, the casualty rate was very high. They were suffering up to 1,000 casualties a day. This 17th Airborne suffered more casualties than all the other airborne combined. The Borough Hall had received a letter from the United States War Department, and it stated that never again would they allow this to happen, that such a group of men, 28, would all go into the same unit fighting in a war. My father was one of the men in this group. They all attended the memorial services down here at town every year. Of these 28 men, there's only one left today, and I'd just like to thank all the military men and women who served not only in World War II from Hellertown and all the United States, but all of them serving today.
Hi, I'm Geoffrey, Baer, commander of the American Legion here in Hellertown, Post 397. The beginning of our Legion post here in Hellertown was at this memorial fountain. It was dedicated in 1924 by the Betsy Ross Club of Hellertown to honor the 7 men who died in World War I. At the top of the memorial, you can see Edward H. Ackerman. He was the first man who died in Hellertown and in World War I. And the building was dedicated and named after him. The building was put up in 1926, and this was actually a local point of Hellertown where all activities were meeting, movie theater, the playhouse upstairs in the grand ballroom, which is now open for people to rent.
My name is Doddy. I'm a longtime member of the American Legion and a long-time member of Hellertown, Pennsylvania. I lived here 82 years, and I was post commander here for 1964 to 65. I was asked here to come here this morning to talk about my display of shoulder patches worn by the GIs during World War II. The first one on top there is the Chinese-American patch that was worn by the AVG group, which was later became General Chanel's Flying Tigers in China. They were a volunteer group, a group of flyers that wanted to do something to help the Chinese out with their devastation brought in by the Japanese. They were bombing China, and these guys went up and flew with their missions and knocked these Japanese planes out of the sky. And the Chinese were very grateful for the American volunteer group to do this. So that's the first one up there is the Chinese-American EVG group. The second two blue and white ones were worn by my brother. Sorry to say, I don't know what the name of the divisions he was in, because I just asked him a couple days ago and he says he doesn't remember. Next in line I have a lot of Air Force patches. The Air Force patch was worn by the GIs back then when it was called the U.S. Army Air Force. It later became the United States Air Force. They're all in one, Air Force 1, 2, and 3. Now, the patch number 3 there was worn by a boyfriend of my sister's. He was flying B-29s over when they were bombing Japan during the war. And he was a gunner aboard a B-29, and sorry to say, he never came home because his plane was shot down. Here's a specialty, Air Force, the number 1 is called the Big Red 1. They did a lot of devastation in Europe. They became famous for winning their battles. They won many battles. It's also good to know that Big Red 1 was formed during the First World War. This here is a U.S. cadet. This is worn by the Civil Air Patrol. They were not members of the armed forces, but they were a group of young guys in their teens that wanted to do something towards the effort of the World War, and they gave them a job of spotting airplanes. There was a hotel over on the north side of Bethlehem where they positioned themselves up on rooftop with binoculars and whatnot. They would spot airplanes, and if there was any airplane that was not on a schedule or anything on a flying pattern, why they would report it. But that they did nothing other than doing this for the good of the war. Here's one that we're very proud that it came to us by way of a young man whose father wore this patch during the war, Bill Frey, along with a bunch of other guys that enlisted during the war from Hellertown. They all went to basic training at the same time, and they all ended up in the same division, this airborne division here. Sad as it may be, when they were sent into combat, they were confronted by a strategic German division that well equipped and well trained, and these guys, there were about a dozen of them from right here from Hellertown that were in that division, and they were hit pretty hard. And here in Hellertown, the telegrams were coming in every other day about their sons being killed in action, and this went on for about 2 weeks, and Hellertown was in a panic, wondering what's happening with this. All these boys were killed in action all at one time, at the same time. But Bill Frey's son brought this in for us, and we're glad to have it entered on our board. One more thing I'm very proud that we have on here, this little badge here was not a shoulder patch. It was worn on the chest of the veterans. Then this is called the ruptured duck, and it was given to every veteran as he received his discharge papers, and they wore this on their uniform. And sometimes these GIs got out of the military, had no clothes other than civilian clothes to wear, so they kept wearing their uniform, and this was on their chest that denoted that they served their time in the military, and they were discharged honorably. I'm proud to have this display here. I often wonder what I could do with these patches when I had them at home, and I decided to do this, and I'm hoping that if there's any patches floating around the community, bring them here to the American Legion, and we'll display them proudly for these guys that served during the Second World War. So I'd like to say thanks a lot, guys, and God bless you, God bless Hellertown, and God bless America. Thank you so much.